Great. You probably hear something now. So we give all the glory and praise to our highest Shah, highest Shai, and Holy Spirit. We want to get to the lesson of Genesis.
Everybody know Genesis mean what? The beginning of the rest of your life.
Okay, just like with every other Bible study, Genesis. Not what you thought about it, right? Because that's not an epistle.
No, last week was pretty bad with
I don't want to talk about
Jews. Like y'all was like
Genesis thoughts.
Scared of murder. Like a soap opera, man.
Yeah. So
Thoughts on the book of Genesis. Didn't read it. Okay.
Maybe because it was.
No, I know you. Well, I'm not going to say that because we sit up there and we make an effort to do everything else.
Genesis is
It's 50 chapters. Yes, I know it's 50 chapters. But let me say this. In this ministry, I'm for sure that you can come up with something. We talked about Genesis. We're in Genesis a lot. It's not like it's any of these books are avoided.
Karen said that was a lot of history and genealogy.
Yeah, a lot of history and genealogy. Yes, that's true. Because it's the beginning, yes.
Joseph's story is her favorite.
Joseph, yes. Joseph is a wonderful story.
She said, allow me to elaborate.
Elaborate. Go ahead.
So while she's doing that, Eliana says, what stuck with me was how people either made the most of the situations life presented them with or became bitter or negative because of it. One of the examples is how Jacob made the most out of how he was tricked into bedding Leah.
Was he really tricked?
Instead of becoming angry and bitter, etc.
Was he really tricked? He wasn't tricked. But that's okay. He wasn't tricked. He was drinking.
And he shouldn't have been.
He shouldn't have been drunk. So, unfortunately.
Oh, I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
He made the most out of it, what happened, and was blessed beyond belief, with children and a fulfilled life. He could have been resentful, but instead he figured out a way to make everything work out, even if it meant he was going to work longer and harder.
Right. I mean, he eventually had to figure it out. Right.
But my thing is this, it only talked about him drinking for his marriage. Other than that, there was no history of Jacob drinking.
It also said that about Noah, but one sin.
Yeah. Karen says, I love Joseph because he was put in a bad situation.
Was he put in a bad situation, or did he put himself in a bad situation?
But he still followed the Most High,
Mm-hmm.
and the devil meant it for evil. But the Most High turned it for good, and Joseph forgave his brothers, and his brothers asked for forgiveness as well. There are other things I like about this story, but the forgiveness part always makes me feel some way whenever I read it. And another favorite part of Genesis is when it says Jacob was working for 7 years for Rachel. And the Bible said it felt like a few days. And that part always gets me.
Yes.
But let's say this. With Joseph, she was talking about the story of Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say this. I don't believe that it was the devil who did that to Joseph. I believe that was Josiah's doing.
Yeah.
Because what Joseph had to do his assignment, Joseph had to be humbled.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So he had to go through some things.
Right. Because Joseph was a narcissist.
Yeah.
Joseph wasn't all what he ended up being. When he was young, he was hard headed. He was spoiled.
Mm. You know them last children, almost them baby young children you have, they get spoiled.
No, it's not they get, they are.
Are yeah. They hard headed and spoiled.
Okay. So yeah, when it comes to Jacob, that could have been avoided had he not been doing the drinky drink. But he did work. He did what he had to do with Joseph. That was Josiah intervening because of the fact that there was other things that are set up along the way, but Joseph had to humble himself because Joseph was not humble.
I would say that my favorite story in Genesis was Abraham and Isaac because it showed a tremendous amount of faith. Also, I will say about the book of Genesis that
Tremendous amount of faith for who?
for both,
On what situation?
when the angel of the Lord told him to make him a sacrifice.
Okay.
Also, when reading the book of Genesis, it's like you would get to something crazy would happen, and then it'd be calm, and then you'd hit like another or
Kind of
something.
like life.
Yeah, or something else crazy would happen, then be calm for a minute, and then somebody else would do something. And you'd be like, oh my god.
But it's called the beginning for a reason. That's the beginning of go ahead, Malcolm.
Was she done?
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna say. I feel like Genesis kind of set the foundation for the rest of the books in the Bible. Like Genesis has so much diverse things happening, and
It's like what to do and what not to.
yeah, but it kind of set the foundation of what to next in the Bible. Like you had said, the fact I said start with reading Matthew, or like someone start with the Old Testament, then go to the New. But then start with the New Testament, then go to the Old. But Genesis just seems like it's not just one thing that I could like really
It's the
out.
beginning of our people. It's
Yeah,
the
just
very, very beginning. That let us know where we come from, who we come from. We don't need to do a genealogy. What's that thing they do?
Census?
No.
Swallow in the mouth.
Yeah, we don't need to
Oh,
have our spit swallowed and looked and you're
Ancestry.
10%. Yeah, you get 10% this, you're 15% that. We gotta do all that.
It's like an intro to the Bible. That's what
Okay, you have something to say?
yeah. One thing that I love reading Genesis, especially with the book of Joshua, because it fills in a lot of different things. That's
Well, we're not doing the book of Joshua. We're doing Genesis.
So I'm getting there. It's one thing that I read in Genesis. The Bible confirms in Joshua that those wars that they had were actually true, and I thought that was something that was very interesting to me, especially with learning about the patriarchs, our forefathers, and how strong and mighty they were. But then towards the end of the book, you see how humble that they become when they see Joseph asking for forgiveness and see how they've grown.
But that hadn't happened yet, has it?
Okay, so we're in the book of Genesis, right? We're in the book of Genesis. Is any of that in the book of Genesis, or is it in the book of Joshua?
It's actually, that's what I was saying. It's in Genesis. It confirms in Genesis that happened.
Where?
In Genesis 35, 1-5.
The
And-
wars?
Yeah.
It confirms in that?
Yeah, and then Genesis 48, the last.
And it
verse.
shows that all the patriarchs are humble in Genesis?
Yeah, and in the last chapter, when they were
Where?
asking about their brother for forgiveness,
That's
they humbled themselves. That's what I was talking about.
okay.
What's all that about?
It's about nothing. It's
So
about nothing.
truly what is, you may not have other people may have not read
or may not even know what Jasher is. That's why we're sticking to Genesis. Let's go to the Bible
So we're gonna
study.
keep it. We're gonna keep it simple.
Yeah.
Now, if this was like the Shabbat and we had time, we'd get into all that.
Right.
We don't have all that time, so we
Right.
gotta try to.
So the assignment, what you're supposed to do is bring something from the book of Genesis. Not go off on your own and start bringing out other stuff. The book of Genesis. And if we cannot do that, then let's keep the mouths quiet. Because enough is enough of people wanting to do their own thing and go off on their own tangents. All right. That's why you all have problems and issues in your lives. Because you just don't follow simple directions. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So the book of Genesis is the first book. And it opens up with the most quoted scripture there is. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. A lot of stories in the book of Genesis. Somebody said that it was like a TV show or something like that, soap opera. And it was. It was. You got Adam and Eve. You got Cain and Abel. You got Noah, the ark. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, a dapper Joseph.
Why nobody mention Ishmael?
He was an extra.
We're going to talk very briefly about Ishmael.
He was an extra Christ actor.
We're going to talk very briefly about Ishmael. Right? When it comes to the book of Genesis, yes, it's like reading a bunch of stories. And the sad part is that it keeps going wrong. Things just keep going wrong. Despite Yeshaya intervening, it seems like everything that was going on in Genesis, everything that could have went wrong, did go wrong. And Yeshaya would have to have intervened every single time. Just like Israel today. All this stuff goes on wrong in your life. Yeshaya has to intervene. And then when Yeshaya intervenes, go back into doing whatever it is that you're doing. Then Yeshaya intervenes. So the same pattern that's in Genesis is the same pattern that's going on now. We got to stop that cycle. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible. It talks about how Israel got population, how we got land, how we set up the foundation, and it all started with Genesis. What's the longest book in the Bible?
Isaiah.
What's the longest book in the Bible?
Psalms.
Psalms technically is not a book. I know people say Isaiah because of 66 chapters, but no, it's Jeremiah. Jeremiah is the longest book. What's the second longest book? We're in it tonight, Genesis. Genesis is the second longest book.
Right to say Psalms now.
No, Psalms is not. Technically, Psalms is a book. Psalms is not one book. It's 4. No, I'm sorry, it's 6. There's 6 separate books when it comes to the book of Psalms. And technically, Psalms is not a book. Psalms is basically a what do they call it?
A hymn.
No, it's not a hymn. But when we get to the book of Psalms, then we'll know what it is.
No, a haiku, a limerick. A haiku. Sorry.
Oh,
A haiku.
Those are different types of poems.
It's 2 different types of poems. Anyway, look at the characters in Genesis. First, Yeshaya. He's prevalent in Genesis, the creator of heaven and earth. Then you have Adam and Eve. Yeshaya makes things look good. Humans make it look bad. Turned it into chaos. Once Yeshaya was creating everything, everything was very good. Humans began to rebel against Yeshaya. They began to curse the world, violent. So Yeshaya had to destroy everybody but Noah and his family. Again, there's chaos and confusion. Yeshaya has to clean it up. And then there's chaos and confusion. Then Yeshaya has to clean it up. He had to bring the world back to very good status again. Every single time. And throughout the story of Genesis, from the creator to Adam and Eve, to all the people that were populated before the deluge, then after the deluge with Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and the people started creating and are procreating, the Bible then switches from all the genealogies and it focuses on one particular family. And that started with Abraham. And it focuses on this one family because that's the lineage where Yeshaya would come from. But look at the lineage where Yeshaya would come from. Look at all the things that these people did. And look at all the good that they did. We can sit there and harp on the bad and everything, but look at the good that they did too. Abraham, he was known as Abram. Yeshaya chose Abram to be a leader of a great nation, of a few great nations. Israel was just one. Abraham the father. In Abraham, Yeshaya made very good. How did he make very good? Because he offered Canaan to Abraham and to his descendants. And Abraham kind of forgot, went to Egypt, did other things, but Abraham was still good. So good that when Yeshaya decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, that Abraham's prayers were able to save Lot and some of his family. Not all of them, unfortunately. Abraham and Yeshaya had a special agreement. And that's where the story of Israelites began, with Abraham. Jacob, Abraham's grandson. Jacob did a little maneuvering, we'll just say that, to get the blessings. Did a little maneuvering to get the blessings. And his 12 sons, where the 12 tribes come from. And this is where we can trace our lineage back to. The 12 tribes.
So let me say this, because Jacob didn't have 12 sons. He had 10. So what was this? Joseph's 2 sons.
But he adopted them.
Right.
I didn't say. Okay. So.
No, I know you didn't, but some people think, because I've been talking to people about the book of Genesis, and they actually think that Jacob had birth, like his wife was 12 sons.
No, but the thing of it is that, well, what happened? Because with the story of, I think we need to count up the sons of Jacob. I think we need to count them up because I believe there was 12. And the reason being is because Joseph is not mentioned in the 12 tribes, but there's also another son that's not mentioned. Dan.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right. So Manasseh and what's the other one? Ephraim were Joseph's sons. So they took the place of technically Joseph and Dan. Now, yes, according to the 12 tribes, Joseph only born 10. Yes. He only born 10 according to the 12 tribes.
But without the 12 tribes, he did have 12 sons, which was Joseph and Dan.
Right. Right. Correcto. Right, Jacob. His sons, the 12 tribes can trace their lineage back to him. Joseph, his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, so-called Cubans, so-called Puerto Ricans, can trace their lineage back to those two. Then you have Joseph. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. Prophetic gift in dreams. Wonderful gift. Able to interpret dreams. It's a wonderful gift to have. Then he gets thrown into slavery, gets thrown into prison, all of it for Yeshaya's plan to rescue. See, this is what we need to understand, is that Yeshaya has a plan for each and every one of us. But if we continue to go down the path of the devil and continue to be rebellious and disobedient and dysfunctional, whatever plot or whatever plan that Yeshaya has for you, it's going to either be for naught or you're going to take a 40-year journey off of what should have taken you a couple of weeks. It's time to stop being foolish. And it's time to stop being rebellious. It's time to stop going off on your own tangents. Because that's going to get you caught.
Lean into your own understanding.
It's going to get you caught. I'm here to warn.
So when Shepherd was saying that the Bible study tonight was just on the book of Genesis, right? And somebody went off and read something else. And I know you're probably thinking, well, that was no harm. But who was the prophet that Yeshaya sent to give a message?
Mm-hmm.
And then Yeshaya put a lying spirit in another prophet.
Yeah.
Because that prophet was being tested.
Mm-hmm.
He was told to go deliver that message. Don't spend the night there. Don't eat nothing. Don't drink nothing. Give the message. Leave. What did he do? He went there. He gave the message. And then another known prophet was like, come on, tarry a little bit. Stay with me.
Right.
The guy didn't stay one day. He stayed a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in the end?
Got ate by a lion.
Yeah. So now you see how important it is just to follow the instructions that you're given. I got caught like that too. That's how I know. Because I was told one thing, and then I listened to the half truth and I did something else and I got caught up. So if you're told to just do one thing, if you give instructions to do something, just do what you're told to do. And that's it.
Because I'm going to do what I'm told to do. I am going to do what I'm told to do. And what I've been told to do is to lead this ministry to the New Jerusalem by any means necessary. And that's what I'm going to do. And if I have to crack a couple of eggs to get there, then so be it. I'm going to do it. Before we get to Genesis, I want to say something too. The Genesis is about beginnings, correct?
Yes.
All right. With that being said, because the book of Genesis is about beginnings, let's talk about our beginning. Let me tell you about our beginning. It happened in O'Hare Airport.
Woo! Don't you go? No.
Yes.
No.
I'm going there.
Well, why we didn't talk about this before time?
Because, yes, we did. Did you forget? Yes, you did. O'Hare Airport.
We didn't talk about that we were going to talk about this. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we did.
I know it is, and ain't.
You want to know what ain't,
about
ain't.
this.
You want to know what ain't because you ain't been listening.
Okay.
You ain't. In the beginning. Very beginning of our relationship.
It was Earl and Tank.
Right. In the beginning, there was Earl and Tank. And God put them together and said it was good. Tay, left hook. Earl, uppercut. In the beginning, right? When we first met. Yes.
Okay, I remember that.
When we first met, the very beginning.
If you're going to tell it right. Look, see, I knew it.
Something. Yeah, go ahead.
So it was like this. I started working at the airport in January. I first noticed Shepard like almost the end of January, but I was a shy girl.
January?
So I was a shy girl. I was never the type that would approach a man. And so I started watching him, right? Now, I would watch him when he go by. That was no stalking. I saw him, I would watch him. And I was like, oh, he's interesting. And then I believe he finally said something to me in May.
Yeah, that was May. And I first saw you, it was in May.
Oh, you was in my...
Oh, man. See, that's something I didn't know. I didn't know it was January.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I never forget you had on some cream pants with some kind of green line, some kind of shirt you used to wear with it. Shepard used to dress like, I don't know, really dressed up a lot. He had a Jerry curl with a high top fade. So, we started, well, this is how it happened. I used to do like the x-ray machines where you can see what's in the luggages. So it was this lady in the kind of like in an open area foyer, I don't know what it was, what those revolving doors was. So Shepard was with a guy and he said a joke, he said something funny, so I laughed, right? And then I think like a couple of hours later, he came back and gave me a note.
Right.
Telling me his name and asking me to call him. And I did. I think the first night I called you, I was on a payphone.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you what I was doing in the store.
Right.
But we was on the payphone. And I think we talked for like 30 minutes.
Right.
And then I told him, I said, call me back. I gave you my number. I said, I'm going to walk home. And I said, call me back when I get home. Mm-hmm. That was about 11 o'clock. I think we talked to about 4 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And we both had to be at, well, I had to have to be at work until like 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I had to be at work at
5.
5.
So after that, we was pretty much inseparable.
Right.
Because he worked in the stockroom at the time for American Airlines, so he could take his lunch and breaks whenever he wanted to. So his like my schedule became his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So we took every break together. We took all our lunches together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what time did you get off early in the day?
I worked from 5 to 1:30, and then it switched to like 7 to 3:30 or something like that.
How it was that we used to be on the phone all day like on the weekends when we didn't work,
Right.
or during the weekday, like until 2 or 3 in the morning. We would just talk. What we talked about, I can't even remember. Can you?
No.
But the thing about it, so I got off at 10 o'clock at night. If he got off at 5 or 6, you would hang around.
Yeah.
He would hang around, and then he would take the train home with me,
Mm-hmm.
and we would visit. But Shepherd lived way on the other side of town, so for him to, where I live was really bad.
Oh yeah.
It was like around. I didn't live in the projects, but the projects was around. And something else they
couple
called
of blocks away.
They called the boondocks or something. It was bad.
Yeah.
And so I remember one night he was on his way home, and one morning he said a guy was in the middle of the street with a shotgun.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But the point is that we were pretty much inseparable.
Right.
We every time, every available moment we had, we was always together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went to like the movies, we went to dinner, or we just sat there, we talked, we played spades.
Right. Yeah.
Like, but it's like we spent, but that's what you do when you getting to know someone in the beginning. Why did we bring this up? Because we should be doing this with Yeshaya as well. But if Yeshaya has put you together, but at the time I didn't know it, because I just knew when I first saw Shepherd, I was so drawn to him, but I was so shy that I could never bring myself to come and say, yeah, I know how my daughter's looking. But I was not the kind of, I didn't go after men like that. I didn't say, hey, my name is, that's not who I was. And then after that, it was like, I think a couple of months later, you asked me to marry you.
Right.
In September.
Yeah, I think it was September.
Yeah, I remember because I took the ring and ran because I couldn't believe it. But we always was on the phone. We spent all our time together. Now, with that being said, that's just getting to know someone. But eventually, no, it didn't taper off. We still like that now, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, look how much we talk on the phone now.
Yeah, we're still, I can't even say it would taper off because we're still like that.
Even through our debauchery, we still would call each other and talk to each other.
And
then.
And the thing about it is that I remember Shepherd and I worked together. How far do you think your desk was from mine? Because we could see each other.
30 feet.
Maybe 30 feet. But I could feel what he was feeling. And one day I just got to know, we was in Christianity at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over to him and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I can feel you're frustrated. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what kind of call you had taken or what was going on.
Yeah.
But also because at this point we was in Christianity, but that's still when you're with someone, it's a spiritual connection. So you can kind of feel, or you feel some kind of sense of urgency or something when when that person is going through something.
Right.
Or when something, and you can feel when that person is happy. It's not always a bad thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of connection you should have with your spouse. You should have that kind of connection.
Right. All right.
And why do we go to this story?
Because we're in the book of Genesis, and the book of Genesis is beginning. So thought it'd be nice to share our beginning.
And we did have a lot of crazy stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a soap opera.
Yeah.
Is it opera or opera?
Opera.
All my life I was in soap opera.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't say it out loud.
Look, they laughing at me. You glad I ain't say it out loud. You still messing with me.
No, I'm not. All right, so the book of Genesis, we all know the stories: Adam, Eve, Noah, Jacob. The book of Genesis, like somebody said, sets up the stage for the rest of the Torah. It's a long, long, long prelude to Israel's beginnings. In fact, the prologue. Yes, prologue.
She don't know what that is. She's like,
But you know what a haiku is. But you don't know what a prologue is.
I never read those books. Where are you tripping?
What did she say?
You always skip that page. You don't read that.
She never read that book.
Part of the book, in the beginning of the book, it's called a prologue. Author
Prologue
gives
or prologue?
no prologue. The author gives, credit to whoever helped them or her with the book and insight on their life or whatever. You know what? Let's go. Genesis 17:7. So the book of Genesis can be summed up in one verse. In the words that Yeshua said to Abraham in 17:7 says, "And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee."
All right.
So see, Genesis 17:7 gives a wonderful summary of Israel, of us. Right? Genesis has 4 themes. First thing that we're going to talk about is covenant. A covenant is a binding agreement between 2 or more parties. Covenants normally have promises, conditions, blessings for keeping the covenant, and of course, curses for breaking the covenant. Come out.
He's been doing that a couple of times today.
Yeah, come out. Right? That's what a covenant is. Promises, conditions, blessings, curses. Genesis has a lot of these agreements. If you read Genesis, the 9th chapter, it's a covenant there. If you read Genesis 15, it's a covenant. If you read Genesis 17, there's a covenant. We're going to go to Genesis, the 25th chapter. Covenants is what starts the book of Genesis. Yeshua promised Abraham, who had no children, that he'd be a father of many nations. His descendants are going to have a land and they're going to be blessed. 38 of the 50 chapters in Genesis follows Abraham and his family. "38 of 50 chapters. It's all about Abraham's family. How many children did Abraham have?
2.
How many children did Abraham have? Let's go to Genesis chapter 25, verses 1 and 2.
Can you help your wife? Keep patting her. Yeah, he's been going through all that.
Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. Genesis 25, verses 1 and 2. And she bare him Zimran, Jokshan, and Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Those of you on the chat can answer too. Did I offend anybody? So how many sons did Abraham have?
7.
I mean, we just did 6 right there. So how many did he have?
Meadowalk says 7.
No, not 7.
It was 8.
8 children.
Oh,
Sister Karen said 9. No, it's 8. We just labeled 6 here, and then you had Ishmael and you had Isaac. It's a total of 8. The next 4 books are going to tell us about the descendants, how they became a nation, how they moved forth through the promised land.
so are we not counting Ishmael?
Yeah, we did. 6 right here with Keturah,
Okay.
7 Isaac, 8 Ishmael.
Oh, 8. Okay.
8. Mm-hmm. So because the next 4 books talks about the nation of Israel, the book of Genesis, you have to pay close attention to covenant, promise, swears, oaths. Because this is where the covenants start. And this will help us when we get to Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. It will assist us by talking about Genesis. So this is not going to be like we did with the epistles. Because number 1, these books are too long. And number 2, it's too much information to go over for 1 hour and 1 night. The second theme of Genesis is blessings. In Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 3, it says, Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will shew thee. So Yeshua is telling Abram, leave your father's house. And I know a lot of people will say, well, that's because he was an idol worshiper. No, it wasn't because he was an idol worshiper. It was because Abraham was 75 years old, living in him daddy house. Time to cut the cord. Him 75 years old. Dad, can I go outside? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Abraham did not say, Dad, can I go outside? But he was 75 years old. So Yeshua said, leave and go to what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a land. You can call your own. Verse 2 says, And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Men, when you get your wives that the Shia has prepared and made for you, you will have a great nation. It may be 1, 2, 3, but you will have a great nation. That's your nation, man.
As long as you're obedient to
As long as you're obedient to Yeshua, man.
Yeah.
3 says, if you are following Yeshua, I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Now, I would say, what really is verse 3 saying? But we don't have time tonight for that. Verse 3 is saying that Many people, if you are following Yeshua, are going to bless you, but very few people are going to curse you. That's why he says, I will bless them that bless thee. I will bless them that bless thee. But then it says, and curse him that curseth thee.
I didn't realize that said him.
Well, yeah. Him that curseth thee. So what is that saying, men? That is saying that if you are under Yeshua and you're being right with Yeshua, then multiple people are going to be put in place to bless you. Very few are going to come against you.
Mm-hmm.
So you men need to get your acts together quickly.
Well, if they want to be blessed.
If you want to be blessed. But hey, who am I to stop you if you want to continue to be cursed? That's fine. I'm not that crazy to want to be cursed. But who am I to stop if the man wants to be cursed? Go ahead, be cursed. The rest of the book talks about the Torah, and the rest of Genesis gets the Bible in gear. Remember, 38 chapters are dedicated to Abraham's family. 38 out of the 50. Blessings are important throughout the book. When Jacob inherits the blessing that Yeshua had given to Abraham and Isaac, that's a blessing. Originally for Esau, but Jacob got it. So, with that being said, the Esau Jacob, before we got another Cain and Abel situation, because Esau was going to kill Jacob. Jacob gets to a distant land, a new life. Jacob returns, wrestles with God, and then gets blessed. So the second theme of Genesis is blessings. The third, records and genealogies. That's the third theme of Genesis. Records and genealogies. Repeated phrase through Genesis. This is the account of this. These are the records of this. Followed by a bunch of names and a bunch of stories.
I used to think the names was like boring, like they were not important.
Right.
But I soon found out that was wrong.
Yeah.
What was the second one? You said covenant, and I didn't get it.
Second was blessings.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we got covenants in 1, blessings 2. Third one is records and genealogies. In Genesis 2 and 4, these are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the heavens and the earth and the heavens. What does that tell us? That tells us that creation was a genealogy. Creation is a genealogy. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Earth was without form and void. The Spirit of God moved upon the waters. And God created light. The Genesis, the first chapter, the first chapter is genealogy. And I know for those who are going to say something, well, genealogy is about people. Genesis 2 and 4 says something different. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created. So Genesis 1 is a genealogy of creation. Yes, it was. The book of Genesis goes through a long series of sub-accounts of genealogies. Adam's family line starts at Genesis 5 and 1. We're not going to go through each and every genealogy. Maybe we'll do a teaching on just the genealogies for a Shabbat. Adam's line is in this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. So the rest of Genesis, the 5th chapter, it's a genealogy. Abraham's line is a genealogy. If we go to Genesis chapter 6, verses 9 and 10, it says, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Then the Bible goes to a genealogy from Noah's sons. If you go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 1, like I said, we're not going through all of the genealogy, the entire genealogy. So we'd be here a while.
Yeah.
Genesis 10 and 1 says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. We all recognize and we already know that Shem was not the oldest, but his name is listed first because the rest of the book of Genesis is going to come from his seed. Abraham's family is mentioned in Genesis chapter 11, verse 24 to 27, starting with Nahor. And Genesis 11:24 says, and Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. 27. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. And then it goes on and on. Ishmael's family is even in the Bible, starting at Genesis 25 and 12. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah handmaid, bare unto Abraham. The Bible wants to make sure and give a clear distinction between Ishmael and Isaac. Very clear distinction between Ishmael and Isaac, because the promise, the covenant, is going to go through Isaac. Isaac's family is in Genesis chapter 25, verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Covenants. Not covenants, but genealogies is very, very important. Esau's family is in the lineage, Genesis chapter 36, verse 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom.
You know, our people kept very detailed books about our genealogy, who came from whom, because it was also because of the land as well that was given, that Yeshua gave to each tribe
Right.
and each family. But if you came and you claiming to be from somewhere, they would check the genealogy to make sure that you were an Israelite.
It's very important because of the fact that they knew that future generations would need to know where they came from.
Exactly.
That's why Psalms 83. If Future generations are going to need to know where they came from. If you look at a Chinaman, you know where he came from. If you look at someone from India, you know where they came from. 12 tribes, people don't have a clue. Jacob's family is in Genesis 37, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Why would his father be a stranger in the land of Canaan when that was promised to Abraham years ago? Verse 2. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. So Joseph was being a snitch and also little narcissist. But then Joseph became a very mighty leader. So when you're reading Genesis, you have to pay close attention to the genealogies. You have to pay close attention to the genealogies. A lot of people, especially those who study the Bible or read the Bible, don't really pay attention to them, don't care. Until you get into Judges and you see a name and you're like, well, wait a minute. Or you get into Joshua and you see a name and like, where did they come from? Well, look at Genesis, you may find it. The next and the last theme is the promise. The promise. Yeshua promised that Abraham's descendants would possess the land in chapter 15. But when was that promise fulfilled? Abraham, in Genesis 15, Yeshua gave him the promise, but when was it fulfilled? Let me say this. What book was it fulfilled? That'll be easy.
Exodus.
Wasn't fulfilled in Exodus. When was the promise?
Parents said in Joshua after the wilderness.
In Joshua, yes. In the book of Joshua is when that was fulfilled. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Didn't they get their land in Joshua? Isn't that the land that flowed with milk and honey?
And the walls came tumbling down. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, just
They walked over.
What book is that?
Joshua,
Book of Joshua.
chapter 3 or something.
Just say Book of Joshua.
That's what I bet.
Yeah, just say Book of Joshua. I'm going to specifics. Just Book of Joshua.
You can say.
I'm trying to
And
get
leave
there.
it
Like,
there. Unless you read it, which we're not going to read for about 4 or 5 weeks.
I have read Joshua.
All right, Book of Joshua, Canaan, Abraham. Abraham wanders through Canaan. Isaac settled there, and Jacob settles there to the end of the book. Then Israel goes and becomes guest of Egypt through slavery. And then the rest of the books tell us on how we got back to Canaan. Well, look how long that took. Yeshua promised Abraham in Genesis, the 15th chapter. And look how long it took us. That tells you something. It should tell you something. As you continue to read and study Genesis, don't just pay attention to what happened. Pay attention where it's happening. That's key. That will help you when you get to the later books, especially with the books of the prophets. Yeshua's authority is in Genesis. Yeshua, the maker of all things, sovereign, humble. Genesis, the first 2 chapters, we see his creation. We see how he selects when he selected Abraham. Blessed the Israelites. Protected Egypt from famine. All of that was Yeshua's doing, but man rebelled. And that rebellion started with Adam and Eve in the garden. Cain presented unacceptable sacrifice. The world became violent with Noah. Not with Noah, but in the days of Noah, the earth was violent. After the flood, people still continued in rebellion by trying to build a tower so they can fight God. The Tower of Babel. Yeshua's judgment is in the book of Genesis. Yeshua evicts Adam and Eve. Big old eviction notice on the door of the Garden of Eden saying, "Get out." He evicts Adam and Eve. Right? That's Yeshua's judgment. Yeshua's judgment was on the full earth when he flooded the earth, when the deluge of the earth came and he destroyed the earth. That's Yeshua's judgment. A prelude of Yeshua's judgment was fire raining down on Sodom and Gomorrah. So Yeshua is telling us sin must be punished. Not laid away, not stepped aside, not I'll give you another chance, I'll give you another chance, I'll give you another chance. Sin must be punished because Yeshua is holy. So his judgment is in the book of Genesis. Also, the promise of life. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15 says, "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." Everlasting life. Promises. He saves Noah and his family in the ark. He delivers Jacob from the wrath of Esau. He allows Egypt, a foreign nation, to survive through famine through Joseph's wisdom. So why we can't do what Yeshua has told us to do? Why do we have to continually operate in rebellion? Why? Even Yeshua's blood sacrifice is in Genesis. If we read Genesis 3 and 21, it says, "Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them." Animal skins to cover their sin. And Yeshua continually does that. What else? What other blood sacrifice did he do? He provided a ram for Abraham, and that ram took the place of who? Isaac. The blood sacrifice continued into the book of Leviticus. So let's break down the book of Genesis. Yeshua and humanity, Genesis 1 through Genesis 11. Genesis open up with creating the heavens and earth, stars, animals, people, places the people in the garden, they rebel. Curse of sin and death is upon the world. Adam and Eve have children. Eventually, the world becomes violent. So Yeshua sends a flood, a deluge, to destroy the world. Only Noah stays because Noah is righteous. Then people start building the Tower of Babel. All the people of the earth came together, tried to make a great name for themselves. Yeshua had to scatter the people, confusing their language, to set up different languages on the earth. The second one is Abraham and Isaac. That's Genesis 12 to 24. Hundreds of years later, Yeshua calls Noah's descendant Abraham to leave his father and go to the land of Canaan. And it took a long time for the promise to come true. But Yeshua never welches on a promise.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
If you don't do it, somebody else will. His word does not come back void.
That's right. Yeshua considered Abram righteous, so he changes his name to Abraham. Yeshua did that. Abraham didn't wake up one day and say, you know what? I don't like the name Abram. I'm going to call myself Abraham. Nope, Yeshua did that. Then the next one is Isaac in Genesis chapter 25 through 27. Isaac lives in the land of Canaan, has two sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob grows up, gets the blessing from Esau. Esau's not too happy. Esau wants to kill Jacob. Jacob escapes and goes away and marries his future wives. So the next one is Genesis chapter 28 to Genesis 36. Jacob and Esau. Jacob / Israel. Jacob leaves town with his uncle, marries 13 children, lives with his uncle 20 years before Yeshua sends him back to Canaan. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 35. We're going to read verses 9 to 12. And it says, and God appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Panorama and blessed him. And God said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name, and his name is called Israel. Mentioned twice. Interesting. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. I didn't welch on that one either. It took a long time.
That's kind of what happened with you, because you were elder at first, and then you went through this huge thing, and then we were told, I was told through the Holy Spirit, that after that big old thing you went through, that it was not shepherd. I mean, it's not elder, but to call you shepherd. Everything was changed to shepherd. And we see why. Anybody that was here that knew of the thing that we went through, I'm for sure y'all can see why it was changed from elder to shepherd.
Yeah. And in verse 12 it says,
and it was not because you smelled like a...
See, you just gotta take a good happy moment and just turn it around.
Yes. It wasn't because you smell like an outdoorsman.
All right.
You know you would have took that shot at me too. So
no, I don't think
so. I'm just saying. Because if you smell like an outdoorsman, how did your wife smell?
Just
Nobody
the
was
same.
smelling. No, we were just joking.
Verse 12 says, "And the land I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land."
We want our land back, Israel.
All right, so that will happen because that's not a blessing that Yeshua is taking away. We will retrieve the land that he has for us.
We going home, y'all.
And the next one is Joseph in Genesis 37 to 50. Chapters 37 to 50. Jacob's 12th son and his one daughter. Joseph, his favorite. Everybody knows the story. Joseph's predictions are correct. The famine reaches Canaan. The brothers go to Egypt to buy food. The brothers reconcile. Joseph provides food for all the family. All the families in Egypt. And then Joseph dies. And then it begins with Exodus, which we're going to next week. The book of Exodus. Okay? That's going to conclude our Bible study. Tomorrow, testing our faith. It's a behavior that you need in order to make it to the New Jerusalem. And then our Shabbat lesson is going to be familiar, seducing, and unclean
People.
spirits. Okay? Like I said, the behavior and mannerisms, these classes on Friday are we're going to do a whole year. That takes us to October 16th is when we first started this, October 16th, 2021. We're going to go to October, whatever it is, second Shabbat in October 2022 with these lessons. Okay. All right. In the Bible studies, we're going to go to Jonah. And then go to Revelation. And then we'll be done. Revelation, we're going to do a little differently, though. We're not going to do one night for Revelation. Open up for questions. Been opening up for questions since we opened the doors. And there are none. What in the world? That's an actual bridge? There ain't no way in God's heaven am I going to walk over that. There is no way. And I bet you people smiling, taking pictures. That's crazy talk. All right, we'll wait a few more seconds and then we're going to shut her down.
Karen says she has a question.
Question? Sure, go ahead. She will email.
She says she has some questions on Genesis. You know, pull it back up. You know that thing's swaying. Look how narrow it is. It looks like it'll flip over. Right. She said, so Yeshua and Jacob wrestled all night. Like, was this a
It's an angel
fight,
of the Lord.
or was it spiritual? I don't really understand the story. It was not Yeshua, first of all.
Right. And second of all, it wasn't spiritual because Jacob got a dislocated hip from it. But what is the significance of, for those of you on live stream and those of you who are here, what's the significance of the wrestling with Jacob?
Isn't that when he wrestled with the angel to be blessed, and that's when his name was changed to Israel?
Is she right?
Yes. I don't know if she heard you on live stream though.
He was wrestling an angel to get blessed.
So
His name was changed to Israel.
because if you go further into the story, it shows that Jacob had split his family up because Esau was coming. And he was kind of, I guess, if Esau found him and not his family, he was running. He was afraid. He was fearful.
Right.
And the angel of the Lord came to stop him from running to face Esau. He had to face him. He couldn't spend his life running from him. And he said, no, you're not going to go, and I'm not going to let you go until you bless me.
Right.
Well, the blessing, I guess the blessing he was talking about was not letting Esau hurt him.
Right.
But because he showed such courage and he wrestled with an angel, he was blessed with the name Israel.
Right. Remember, Abraham was told that I will bless those that bless thee and curse him that curses thee.
Hey, what's the next question?
And the things that are repeated with Abraham lying about Sarah, then Isaac lying. Okay, so when it comes to Abraham and Isaac, let me say this. How many times did Abraham lie and how many times did Isaac lie? How many? And then, how many times have you lied? I'll sit and wait. Because I know, a lot of people would like to throw Abraham lied and Isaac lied.
You know that Eliana, I'm going to get her. She put once. And then she said a lot. Is you going to get it?
So Abraham was a flesh and blood man. Isaac was a flesh and blood man.
It was not a generational curse.
No, it wasn't a generational curse. No.
Because first of all, there was in situations they shouldn't have been in. If Abraham never would have left, yes, it was a famine, but Yeshua told Abraham to go there.
It's all about trust.
Yes. So at some kind of point, their faith was shaken.
Right.
And they lied to save their own life. But all sin is not punishable by death. Now, do we get chastised for sin? Yes. But all sin is not punishable by death.
Right.
All sin is not a death sentence.
Right.
But it is punishable. You're not going to just get away with it.
Right. But let's understand something. When it comes to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the things that they did it once, maybe twice. But that was it.
I don't remember them commit the same sin twice. Like Abraham lied about Sarah, and then he did sleep with Hagar. He shouldn't have done that.
Right.
It only says about Abraham doing two things.
Well,
that I know of.
The Bible that we know of, the Bible doesn't have his whole account of his life.
We shouldn't be counting up folks.
But we shouldn't be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. You look at the end result, and that's where you want to be. Hopefully, yes.
I was going to ask, did Abraham really lie? Because Sarah is his sister.
Yeah, but that was his wife.
Okay, so was she his sister?
No.
It says that
they had the same father.
They were not blood sister. They was not blood.
Wait a minute, I think they had the same father.
Yeah, that's what he said.
They were it doesn't. Okay, so no, there's no such thing as a half truth. Sarah and Abraham, they were husband and wife. Period. End of discussion. So if he said that was his sister, his half sister, his sister from another cousin, whatever, it was a lie.
So, are you my husband, brother? Because we sister and brother in the Lord, so you my husband, brother.
Right.
Wow. Right.
It was a lie. So it doesn't, and that's the thing. It does not matter if it was partial truth or not. Satan in Matthew the 4th chapter came with a partial truth to Yeshua, didn't he? Yes, he did. So a lie is a lie. Right? But that's not what Abraham is judged on. Abraham, when he's judged, what do you think he's going to be judged on? Probably not anything. And that's where some of us need to get to.
That's what all of us need to get to.
I'm just saying some because, I don't want to sit up there and be like
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
offending
offended by
people.
your acrobation.
Right. Don't want to offend nobody.
Your acrobation.
All right, is that it? Do you have any other questions? All right, live stream tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you've enjoyed the lesson, found it educational, like, share, and subscribe. Notification, that'll let you know we go live. See you tomorrow. Kwame Yasharala.
Kwame Yasharala.